I'm a cowgirl. This is my horse. A doom doom.
Let's talk about lead departures. Part 2. First video, we went over suppling our horses in the bridle with the inside rein and the inside spur. Always asking as light and polite as possible. We talked about transitions from the walk to the trot, looking for that hollow head, the hollow back, riding our horses from the rear end forward. We also talked about what is a lead departure. Where does a lead come from? It comes from the haunches, the hind leg. In a left lead, our hips are actually cantered where our left knee and his hips and my hips are aligned. Think about, I'm going to get down. In a left lead, I'm going to have my left hip, my left leg forward, but I'm striking off with the right. So our hips like this. And your horse is essentially doing the same thing when going around to the left, and then going to the right, it reverses. This is why we cue the lead with this leg. I'm asking him, when I pick up my spur on position 3, which is back by his haunch, I'm asking him to step under with that hind leg and strike off into his right lead. Same thing on this side. I'm going to be pushing on the outside hip, asking him to step under, strike off into his lead. I have found it real helpful to play back videos of other people riding in slow motion. You can see where the lead generates. We talked about this a little bit the first time, just thought I would reiterate. If I cued with my left leg, it would actually be putting my hips out of line. Bo's hips going to the left look like this, so I want my hips to be in line with his. But if I'm cueing his back leg, I am now opposite his canter. We are now like this, rather than in unison. Our hips are now like this. Does that make sense? Word of advice for those of you taking lessons or seeking, advice on the matter. If someone can't explain to you, why they're doing things a certain way, because I can't tell you how many times when I was a young sprout learning how to ride, I would ask why, and they'd just say, because that's just the way we do it. Well, that wasn't enough for me after a while. So I implore you, I encourage you to ask all the questions you can. Why do we do it that way? So we're going nice and forward. We're going to push Bo into this quicksand that is now developed because of the rain. I'm going to get going forward here. I'm going to check to see, I'm going to rock him back on those haunches. Yep. And then from there to his trot, everything checks out. Our pre-flight is good to go. The next thing we're going to start talking about is these breaking these animals down into 3 different compartments. The shoulder, the forehand, the ribs, the middle, and the haunch, the butt. And we talk to these different body parts with our feet, our spur, excuse me. I got a bug in my eye. Position 1 is slightly in front, talks to the shoulder. So we're going to practice pushing that shoulder around. Can you push the shoulder side to side? Position 2, where our legs hang naturally, pushes those ribs aside. This is where the side pass comes from. I'm rushing through these things, so we're probably not reaching perfection right now, but we're just, for example, position 3, and this is where the canter cue, the departure is requested, is behind that cinch. See, he feels my foot go back there, and it just moves that butt around. You see how he's pivoting on that front foot, and he's scooting that little tushy around? That's position number 3. That is where the lead departure comes from. This is how we cue our leads. So this is your next step. Your next homework assignment is putting these cues in. Can you push the shoulders around? Can you push the ribs around? Can you push the haunches around? Position number 3. And what that does is we get back out here on our rail. Position 2, hanging naturally. I'm going to keep Bo on the rail. I'm going to pick up on that inside rein and not just ask for softness. Now I'm going to ask just ever so slightly, tipping his nose to the inside. And what I mean by tipping is I'm not bending him. In bending a horse, so many times these suppling exercises, especially when you bend and supple a horse standing still, you start bending their head left and right. You're detaching the neck and shoulder from the rest of the body. And pretty soon we have these wet noodles that we're riding around. We want them to follow their nose. So I'm on the rail, tipping his nose to the inside to where I can just see his eyelash. Then I put him back on the rail, I straighten him out, and I tip that nose. I straighten him out, and I tip that nose. You do this to the left and the right, both ways. Tip that nose, straighten it out. You tip that nose, straighten it out. This is somewhat of a precursor to the shoulder and haunches in. Once you get this nice and steady, so just like everything, it bears repeating. You know, you practice it at a walk, and once you get it at the walk, then you go to the trot. Good job. Now we take it down to the walk, and here's our next little piece of the puzzle. Once we get him tipping his nose left and right, no problem, able to straighten him out. He's following that nose. He's not running through his shoulder. We're not, cranking his head one way or the other. He's light and he's responsive and he's ready to go. We got a little bit of an impulsion problem here. I got to push him forward. I do find that the trot is the easiest to work in. The walk is kind of sluggish. I'm going to keep my leg position 2. We're keeping those shoulders on the rail. I'm tipping that nose to the inside, seeing the eyelash. And then I'm going to slide my right leg, my outside leg, to position 3. I'm going to push that haunch in, and then I'm going to let it go. Push that haunch in. That was a good one. Bo's an overachiever. That was probably way more than I was asking. Now, if your horse is an overachiever and starts tracking like this, then you should be able to push that haunch back on. Can you now haunches out? It doesn't really matter. Just push those haunches around until it's fluid and easy. You do that in a walk, take it up to a trot, same thing. Keep those shoulders on the rail, tip that nose ever so slightly to the inside, push that haunch, and back. I asked for him haunches in. I don't know. That was whole mule in there. So we're gonna keep those shoulders on the rail, push those haunches in and back. And right here is where I asked for the last one, and it was difficult for him to balance, but we're gonna challenge him. There we go. Good job. Again, to the left and a right. You get it down, you got walk, trot, no problem. Time to start asking for that lead departure. We've got our shoulders going forward. We got it on the rail. The difference between the haunches in cue and the lope cue is now I'm going to put more pressure on with my inside leg. I'm going to squeeze with both legs, just like I do to get him to walk, just like I do to get him from a walk to a trot, from a halt to a trot. Yep. Remember these exercises from our first video? We're using those 2 legs simultaneously to get our animal to move forward. To take your time to set him up for success and yourself for success. Nice, soft, supple in the face, all through the back. I'm going to push position 2 on the inside. I'm going to slide that foot on the outside to position 3, and we're going to lope. Now, he fell out of position there. We're going to try it again. I'm going to tip him to the inside and lope. Transitions, still the same. We're going from trot to lope. Yep, I know. It's tough through this quicksand, isn't it? Don't get too frustrated. It doesn't come overnight. It doesn't come within 2 or 3 hours of riding. This takes a long time. So regardless of how ugly your departures are, which probably not as bad as you think, just ride. So put him up into that lope and just ride. Just ride. And as you go around through the quicksand and everything, start feeling, become very aware of your body, your seat bones. I can feel my hips cantered with his. I know my left knee is in front of my right knee. Am I breathing? So many people, me, myself included, when I'm on a new horse or in front of people I don't know for the first time, I forget to breathe. Sounds simple, but how often we forget to breathe when doing something physical and scary on a 1,000-pound animal, or some of you have 2,000-pound animals. It's intimidating. And that is the main reason why we get so tired up here when loping. We're not breathing. And we're not breathing because this is foreign to us. We don't do it enough. I'll push for a little more impulsion. I know it's slippery, but we gotta suck it up, Bo. We gotta make this video. We gotta make some magic. Okay. I am resisting that trick that we're all very familiar with, is looking to see what lead we're on. I'm gonna do it again right here. When you tip like this and look, it actually puts your position out of line with his hips. Get a friend out here to confirm which lead you're on, left or right. You can just feel it. 30 seconds up here at first is going to feel like eternity, but it's not. So set that timer. Go 30 seconds to the left and then 30 seconds to the right. Once you can do that, no problem, work it up to a minute or two. And those of you who have ridden with me before know exactly what I'm talking about, and you hate me, but you also love me. There is no substitute. We're going to soften to the inside. He's anticipating. There's no substitute for just getting out and doing it. It's slippery. Okay. We're falling apart here. And you know what? That's okay. I'm just going to stick with it till stick with it till you get with it. How about that? Let's put that on a bumper sticker. Nope. Tip, push. There we go. Oh, cold wind's making me cry. Oh, I'm just so emotional up here. Okay. So, are you breathing? Is your butt in the saddle, or is there air between you and your saddle? If there is air, if you're bouncing around up here, that is not fair to your horse to ask him to balance himself, and you're up here trying to find your balance. That's just not fair. You have got to work on yourself. You have got to just come out and do it. 30 seconds. 30 seconds all the way up to, and you guys, some of you are going to think I'm mean, 10 minutes. It's going to be 10 minutes of your time. I'm not going to put that on the video. But this is one reason why I do have longer videos. I want you all to feel and see what horse training, what it takes. It takes time. It takes a lot of energy. There is no quick fix. So feel the lead. See him to get back on that right lead. Anything past 2 strides, if you can't feel that, it's your fault. I'm sorry I'm yelling at you kids. It's just because I love you. When you look down in the saddle and your horse is on the left lead, your left knee will be slightly in front of your right on a left lead. You might even be able to see your left toe. So I can feel that when he's cantered and we're cantered together. I can feel that. Knees and hips. Some people feel it in their shoulders. If you're in line, which is ideally we're all lined up, right here with the belly button in the line. So some people feel the shoulder, but some people swear shoulder. And here's another one I think is super weird, but some people swear by it. They feel it in their ears. So if you're on a left lead, it's going to be your left ear, your left shoulder, your left hip, your left knee that's in front of, it's cantered. And in the right is the opposite. So if you're on your right lead, you're going to feel all this stuff in front of, like this, just like your horse is traveling. And there's no substitute for hard work. Repetition, you've got to get the correct lead. It doesn't have to be beautiful right out of the gate. There's going to be struggles with balance, but you've got to be working on yourself too. And there's always room for improvement. So that is my number 2 video on lead departures and just getting them in the first place. I think that's pretty good for video number 2. Thank you for watching. Hello. Welcome to the Bow Show.